MJW Careers JobStickers Podcast. Hello, today we're here with Mark Heuer. He is the author and navigator of the markforhire.com website. Mark, the number 4, hire.com. Mark, thank you very much for being here. Immediately want to know, when you were in your job hunt, why you were looking for work. What was your 3 core competencies? What were you the best at?
I'm the best at execution, developing team, and overall operations.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And with respect to utilizing that those competencies and the way you approach the social media, and for that matter, back of that day, of just website, at that point was you were kind of doing something new, because no one had utilized the website to, in essence, self-market themselves. So, with respect to that, what gave you the idea?
Well, I think it comes out of a story in a sense of that. One of the things it came down to, first off, it was humility, right? Is you're out of work, you're 15 or 20% of the population at the time the economy imploded, right? And part of it is overcoming humility. Is I use the term kind of figuratively, not necessarily next door neighbor, but neighbor. Was I willing to tell my neighbor I was out of work and reach out to them, right? So for me, it became humility, the art of networking. Humility being it's okay to ask for help and accept help, and then the art of networking became how do I help others with no expectation return? Because what I did is I started going to all these different job seeker meetings, right? And I used to come home initially and say to my wife, now how are job seekers supposed to help me find a job, right?
Right.
But as I started developing those relationships, not everybody wanted to be a general manager or vice president of operations. You had marketing people there, you had engineers, you had maintenance people. Whatever their profession is, it wasn't something I was looking for, but they knew someone. And I gravitated on that, but I also knew enough that while I walked into these meetings, it was amazing. How many times you walk into a meeting and these people are just sitting there waiting for something to happen versus getting in front of others. But then when the people that I watch would get in front of others, they spend all this time vomiting about everything about them, and they never stopped to ask something about someone else. Well, what are you looking for? They just moved on to the next person. So it became a principle for me is how do I help other people influence their search? And sometimes, you know what? I never got to talk to them about my search. And you know what? I came to accept that it was okay. But I also came to a point where I was getting desperate because I had spent so much time networking, but I wanted the GM role. I wanted the vice president of operations role. And how do I get out in front of more neighbors, per se? I had this wild hair. Why don't I do a billboard? And the billboard became, well, how do I get someone back to me? And they asked that question to the advertising company that I was working with. She said, well, why don't you take our website? And my first thing was, well, I can't afford a website. I'm already doing a billboard. I discovered real quick that the website was pretty cheap because I could get the web name for $10 and I could build for $15 or $20. I went to Yahoo and built the website, which I never had done before. So I learned a lot. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, and that's what that's kind of what I was trying to get. Mainly was your influence. What was deep down, what kind of event or person inspired you, to go about it?
I think it was trial and tribulation, because I was trying to get in front of so many people. And I also, if I recall back, we tend to focus back also on all our experiences. Like I grew up in the laundry industry and then manufacturing and distribution. So, what is my focus when I go to a job search? It's going to be, anything with routing, right? Anything with distribution, things that had process control in them, right? And I was always stretching out. So I think by doing the billboard, it casts the net out further. And in this particular case, and I don't recommend this for everybody, but it did broaden my horizons that the opportunity sometimes is left field, something you weren't always thinking about. The reason I say that is because after I did the billboard, I did a lot of public speaking. I got asked to do some public speaking to some career people here in the West End, and I really wasn't sure what I'd talk about, so I ended up calling it "Humility: The Art of Networking," and I told the story of me going to Iraq and coming home and being out of work, and then the whole thing leading up to the billboard. Then I flashed the billboard on the screen and it said, if you want to get hit by a car, you got to get out in traffic, right?
Right.
Because you can't just expect something to happen by sitting behind your computer.
Right.
But I talked to so many people individually too, and in that speaking engagement, I used to throw it out to groups because I spoke to some pretty high end people who made $150,000, $200,000 a year, but they were all sitting making nothing, and there's opportunities sitting in front of them for $80,000 a year, but you know what? That's beneath them because they were used to making $150,000 to $200,000. Well, is $80,000 more than you're making now? Versus, yeah, you used to make that. So, in my own way, motivationally, I would tell them to get off their high horse. But I also walk people through the need that the computer is not going to do anything for you in the job search. It may find you an opening, but unless you're willing to walk in the front door or move regionally or geographically, you sometimes have to go where the opportunity is. But to me, and I've worked with a lot of job seekers since, and to this day I'll work with them if I know someone's out of work. My biggest advice to them is walk in the front door. Walk into 5 front doors a day, and then follow up in 3 days by phone with who you discovered is the decision maker, not HR, who the decision maker is, and do your 30-second elevator speech. What did Charles Ingalls do when he was Little House on the Prairie and the crops weren't growing? He walked in the front door and showed his personality, and people wanted to talk to him further.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. And do you believe in that targeting employers is the strategy these days that is most recommended? Where they...
I do. I highly feel that 85 or 90%, whatever the statistic is jobs are not advertising. For the jobs that are advertised, again, 85 or 90% are filled from word of mouth yet, right? And the decision maker isn't HR. The decision maker is the GM or the owner who's sitting in the chair. And 95% of the businesses are small businesses, right? And most people, when you go to a job fair, right, or a networking group, they're all focused on Fortune 500 companies. If you ask them for their list of target companies, you ever see that?
Right, absolutely.
So if I can influence people. And I've done this a number of times, and the people that have done it have been successful in 2 to 3 weeks. And I tell people, you got to walk in the front door, you got to ask for the general manager, vice president, owner, whatever that style of business is that you walked into, and just give them your 30-second elevator speech. Be kind to the front desk person. You may not get to talk to them today, but if you did 5 on Monday, 5 on Tuesday, 5 on Wednesday, every day you did 5 initial walk-ins. And then for the ones you did on Monday, you called them on Wednesday. If you didn't get to call them, you'll have a job in 3 weeks. And the average person that has done that has been successful. My problem was, by doing that, I wanted to be GM number vice president, and no one was willing to give up their jobs. So my search was a little dynamically different.
And would you say, with respect to, and you parlay in, how you did that search strategy, obviously, with utilizing billboard marketing, but I don't want to stray. I do want to get one more question in about the unadvertised jobs. So say I was going to tell the job seeker, hey, how to find an unadvertised job. Would you be able to summarize it in a one sentence thing that I can maybe get a good quote from you? Like how would you say, if I was going to tell these guys or girls how to find unadvertised jobs? And Mark says, or kind of a summary. What would you just sum it with that perspective?
And I'll give you, but I'll let you go also look at the markforhire.com website at the very bottom.
Okay.
I summarize it there also.
Oh, okay, great.
At the very bottom of that bio, I sort of summarize it there, and I think I can re-emphasize it out in front of me. But my emphasis is that if you want to find an unadvertised job, you simply need to walk in the front door.
Right. Okay.
Because the bio, what I changed in that markforhire.com website, I kind of changed the bio to my journey per se versus what it used to be when I was initially looking.
Absolutely.
And I talk about the unadvertised job in there, and I also talk about the humility in overcoming that, but simply walking in the front door. And I just tell people, draw a 10-mile radius around your house, because there's a lot of people that are so focused they're not going to move. Well, then draw a 10-mile radius or a radius of what you're willing to travel every day for drive time. Atlanta's going to be a little bit different than West Bend, Wisconsin. I can go 15 minutes in West Bend in 15 minutes, or 15 miles in 15 minutes. In Atlanta, during rush hour, I can go 15 minutes in an hour. So what am I willing to do for geographical distance? But then target the small businesses as well as Fortune 500. But the small business is the one that can create opportunity, and that's really what happened when I initially landed. I went to work for a home instead senior care. He created a position. He was wowed by my tenacity and my experience, and the more we talked, he says, you know what? I don't have a position, but you know what? I've always thought I wanted a director of client experience, and then someday I want somebody to become my president. What do you think of? And, he created the position, and he was the owner. So there's the unadvertised position.
Okay. Excellent.
Does that help you?
Oh, absolutely. No, this is, I tell you, and I know you were pressed for time. I just want to do you want to mention anything about your military experience coming back as a into the civilian transition? And I mean, what'd you do for resume to get it converted over? If you had like machinist made or what have you, did you have to get it in the civilian and language?
I went over as a contractor. My whole experience was the fact that I had never served. I was contacted by a guy by the name of Jim Stapleton. He served under Colin Powell, but was a retired military. And I did turnarounds with him at National Linen Service. And then he always recognized, he always thought I was in the military or had a college education, and I had neither. He just was real impressed with how I carried myself and how I was able to turn around certain situations with my tenacity. So his concern was he had this Camp Buka. He was second in command for Halliburton at the time, and he had this Camp Buka that no one really wanted to be there. He says, Mark, if you wanted to serve, this would be a great opportunity to come down as a leader. And, so it's really not focusing on so much the military I like the idea I was able to serve. But I think the value for job seekers is more of what we can give them for meat and potatoes to walking in the front door, because I think it's a lost art. Everybody sits behind their computer, and I'm guilty of that. I sent 1,000 applications out on the computer, and I probably, if I did get one response, I was lucky. But it was amazing how many people talked to me once I walked in the front door. or it became a 360 referral, right? Well, I'm sorry, Mark, I really don't have anything in my company, but you know what? I sit on this board of the Mucky Mucks over at the tech group or whatever it was. Let me talk to some of these guys, and it's amazing how that 360 really works. Does that make sense?
It does, absolutely, absolutely, and that's interesting that you're able to, have a contract, something, in the military to have that exposure, because not many people take on defense projects. So I think that might even be another, part of your influence, maybe where you get some of these ideas where it's guerrilla out there, and you got to get yours. Um, sometimes that's a kick in the butt you need. What's your current projects, Mark? Anything that you want to highlight right now that you want me to put in there on the?
Well, I think you know what I found out of that whole search is I found my passion. I'm serving in senior living. I don't make what I used to make monetarily, but you know what? I am so fulfilled every day that I go to work. I am just amazed. I mean,
good.
I'm working right now. I just changed from living out in Las Vegas. I work for Merrill Gardens in a high-end assisted living community, and I came back to Wisconsin to being more influential in raising my family in a better environment, but still serving in a very high-end again, but twice the size of independent assisted and memory care community. And it's absolutely gorgeous in here. And we have about 90 employees, and I get to direct every day as an executive director and influence that team and make a difference in seniors' lives. And I just love the ability to build relationships. And you know what? I would have never had that if I didn't think outside the box and go towards left field. And I think for me, this whole journey has been very spiritual. And you'll get a sense of that as you revisit that bio on the markforhire.com site.
Absolutely, and I just want to mention also being a career coach and handling outplacement contracts. A majority of my seminars, when I do discuss the outside the box guerrilla marketing tactics, I always mention you. So
okay.
It's I always like to say, I just say, the guy who did the billboard, more or less. But that's what I just I try to influence these people to start getting creative with their search. But in any case, though, I don't want to take up any more time. I do really appreciate it. I'm going to have this in my book, as well as I'm going to start unrolling a interview series on my Twitter and Facebook. So I just got done following you. If you want to follow
what
back,
I'd like to do with you, today's not the time because I've got a 10:30, but I would love to sit down and talk to you a little bit about how people can dynamically interview differently than what they do today. And some of it is doing what I would call the wow interview. And it's the ability to put a presentation together of influencing objectives of the company that they're interviewing with, understanding who the company is, and as much as we preach it, most candidates don't understand or can't articulate who they're interviewing with, what that organization is about, what some of their top objectives are. If you can lay that out in a presentation and then lay out what your objectives are and what you can do for someone. And if you send me another email, I'll send you something that I've done in the past that can be enhanced for others in going, wow, I should hire this candidate. Look at the research they did, but they also articulated not only what they could do for me, they gave me a 90-day plan. Whether we're spot on or not, it's the idea that someone has put the thought process forward going into the interview, right?
Right.
And it's not that they're going to necessarily execute it, because that may not align, but it's the idea that, wow, look at that person's forward thinking, I need to hire that guy.
JobStickers Podcast.
JobStickers.com.